Okay, so this video is going to go over 7.2 using the converse of Pythagorean theorem. Remember, Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b are your legs and c is across from the 90-degree angle, which is your hypotenuse. Okay. We're also going to talk about obtuse and acute triangles. So an acute triangle is a triangle that all angles are acute or less than 90 degrees. Okay? Whereas an obtuse has a triangle where one angle is greater than 90 degrees. One angle greater than 90 degrees. You can't have more than one angle greater than 90 degrees because there's only 180 degrees in a triangle, so that would be that would add up to too many degrees, so we couldn't have that. Okay, so let's say I give you a triangle and I give you the three sides of the triangle, and then I tell you, okay, is this a right triangle? Well, if it were a right triangle, then my two smaller sides squared added would be equal to my third side squared. But if that doesn't happen, I can decide if the triangle is acute or obtuse. This theorem states that if a squared plus b squared is greater than c squared, so if a squared plus b squared is actually greater than c squared, then it makes an acute triangle. But theorem 7.4 states that if a squared plus b squared is less than c squared, then it makes an obtuse triangle. Okay, so if that c squared is big, 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 that means that we have a big angle across from it, and so it's obtuse. So what we're going to practice is I'm going to give you three sides. You're going to tell me, is it a right triangle? Or if not, is it acute or obtuse? Okay, so or obtuse. Sorry, I don't know if you heard that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my two smaller sides. First, I kind of want to turn this into a decimal number so that I can see what it is as a decimal to see how it compares to the other two sides. Pretty sure that that's my biggest side, and it is because it's 17.5-ish. So then that tells me which one's A, which one's B, and which one's C. So A plus B, and remember those two are interchangeable, is equal to 3 square roots of 34, that whole thing in parentheses squared. Don't use the decimal number because it's not as accurate. So this is 81 plus 225. 225 plus 81 is 306. And then put this in parentheses, 3 square roots, and that adds a parenthesis, so you're going to need to double parenthesis that with the squared on the end. And what I mean by that is this. So if you have a calculator like this, I need a parenthesis out front. When I throw in the square root symbol, it adds a parenthesis, so I'm going to need to two parentheses the end to close out this parenthesis and to close out that parenthesis, and then I put the square on the end. That equals 306. So 306 does equal 306, and since a squared plus b squared equals c squared, that makes that a right triangle. Go ahead and pause me and try number 2. When you're done, unpause me and check yourself. So this one, 22 squared plus 14 squared equals 26 squared. So 22 squared plus 14 squared, that gives me 680. 26 squared is, 676. So that is not equal. 680 is actually greater than 676. So if I look up here, if a squared plus b squared is greater than c squared, that makes that an acute triangle. Okay, decide whether the numbers can represent the sides of a triangle. So we have to remember back on this one. So in order for a triangle to be a triangle, the three side lengths, the two smaller have to add up to greater than the third one. So two smaller would be 5 and 12. That does add to more than 13. Square root of 8 is 2.8. So 2.8 plus 4 does add to more than 6. 20 and 21 do add to more than 28. So all three of those make a triangle. So now what I want you to do is I want you to pause me, and I want you to decide whether it's a right, acute, or obtuse, kind of doing what we did up here. Unpause me when you're finished. So on this one, 5 squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. So 5 squared plus 12 squared, 169, and I do believe that 13 squared is 169, yeah. So that is right. This one, square root of 8, that whole thing squared just gives me 8, plus 4 squared, that's 16, equals 6 squared, that should be 36. 8 plus 16 is 24. 24 does not equal 36, but 24 is less than 36. So if I go up here, that would be my a squared plus b squared is less than my c squared, so this would be obtuse. And last one, 20 squared plus 21 squared equals 28 squared. So 20 squared plus 21 squared is 841. 28 squared is 748. So this is not equal, this is bigger, so this is a cube. All right. Again, pause me, try 6 through 8 on your own. Unpause me when you are done. Okay, so 6 and 8 are both right triangles because when I did a squared plus b squared equals c squared, it does actually equal 1521 here and 2,500 here. And then number 7, the middle one, is actually obtuse because I get 113 is less than 144. The first thing I did on all 3 of these, though, is I made sure I went and added my a plus my b and made sure it added to more than c to make sure that it was actually a triangle. Okay. Next one, plot your points. So 0, 5, that's A. 3, 6, that's B. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 1, that's C. Okay, so on these, what you're actually going to have to do is you're actually going to have to use distance formula to find the distance of each side. Then once you have the distance of each side, then you can do a squared plus b squared to equal c squared and see if it does work. So a to b distance formula, big square root. X2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So if I'm doing a to b, x2, 3 minus 0 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Plus 6 minus 5 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So I get square root of 10 for a to b. Let me grab a different color here. B to C. 5 minus 3 is 2. 2 squared is 4. 1 minus 6 is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. So that's the square root of 29. Let me get one more color. And then I'm going to do A to C. 5 minus 0 is 5. 5 squared is 25. Plus 1 minus 5 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. Adding those two together and I get the square root of 41. So my longest side is the square root of 41. So it would be square root of 10 squared plus square root of 29 squared has to equal square root of 41 squared. That's just 10 plus 29 has to equal 41. Well, 10 plus 29 is 39. 39 is less than 41, so this is actually an obtuse triangle. Go ahead and pause me, and I just need for you to do number 10 on your own, and then whenever you're done, you can unpause me. Okay, so this one I actually got as obtuse because my last row I got 45 is less than 53, so c squared is bigger. One thing you need to be careful on, when you are finding a to b, you do x minus x, right? So 2 minus a negative 2, 2 negatives make a positive, so that actually gives you 4. 4 squared is 16. The rest of the work is right here, so go ahead and check yourself and pause me if you need to see if you made a mistake or if you did it correctly. I'm not going to worry about us doing these last two. It's just more of these, and I think that you guys hopefully are getting the idea of how to find if it's acute, obtuse, or right at this point. The other thing that you should have noticed on this grid is that everything was going by 2, so you got to be careful on that. Make sure that you're going by 2s. There is a 7.2 homework assignment in Schoology for you guys to complete on this. Thanks.